Hello, welcome all to our digital panel track on Restart Your Business. We from Konica Minolta today will host a digital panel with a couple of people that will help you or talk about how we can return to work and how we can make sure that in current situation we can go back to work and use all the equipment and everything necessary to safely go to work again and work in the current situation. I'm Marcel, I'm your host for today, and I will guide you through the session and talk to our participants, who I will shortly introduce just by first name, because probably you will all see names and titles just below in the screen when they pop up. I'm actually from the Netherlands, and we are having participants from all over Europe. For example, we have Olaf in the call, who is there from Germany, who is our DX leader from our European headquarters. We also have Andrea in the call, who is from Romania, who is leading an ITS group in Romania, who is actually most customer facing of us all. So I think that's very good to have her in as well. And we have Milan in, who is there from our Business Innovation Center, taking care of our strategies there. So I think we have a pretty set of smart people here that can join us in this nice conversation today. So let me immediately dive into the topics with you, and first talk about where we can start from when it comes back to the impact that we have from COVID, because I think everyone had to get used to the fact that we could not go to the office anymore and that we had to work from home, which had quite some impact on businesses when it comes to setting up the right environment for their people, taking care of the culture of the people who have to deal with that situation. All of a sudden, everyone had to stay home. So we had meetings with people with kids on their lap, or we had to get used to the fact that that the situation was different than before. And I think it's nice that we as humans are so innovative and can think of many ways to do this in a proper way. So this worked out, I think, pretty well. Of course, we saw a lot of businesses had a lot of problems, financial, when it comes to their actual business, but we also saw a lot of businesses picking this up. And now we're actually in the stage where a lot of businesses are opening up again their offices, and we have to get back into a situation where some healthy mixture is there. So it would be nice to discuss this and see what we can do when it comes to returning to the office, when it comes to the cultural part, but of course also to how you can have tools that help you doing this in the most proper way. So if we look into those things, I will drop the first question here. There are many different impacts that COVID had on organizations. And what do you guys think was the biggest one? So let's start with Olaf here.
Yeah, I think, Marcel, the biggest impact, of course, what it was the sudden change, the overnight change, where everybody had to basically or practically work from home, as you just indicated, with the kids on the lab. So that change, of course, made a huge impact to organizations to discover their maturity stage with regards of digitization. So, and in most of the cases, and actually at Konica Minolta, we had been lucky because we have been pursuing this already for quite some time. The facility or to facilitate remote work. But of course, many businesses were challenged to figure out, as I said, in an overnight situation, what it means to them. So, and of course, staying in such kind of situation, competitive and stay connected with all the different businesses, that was the biggest challenge, I think, for everyone.
So Milan, what are your thoughts on that?
Hi, good morning. So yes, I think just to echo what Olaf has mentioned, we need to get into a state of mind of thinking that everything will be okay and the same again after COVID-19 as it was pre-COVID-19. it's actually the last few months has fundamentally changed the way we live, the way we operate, the way we work. And this really has to be reflected into our mindset. For me personally, it's very much around this paradigm shift in terms of a mindset shift and thinking for the foreseeable future. And in parallel to that, we see disruption. This word disruption keeps popping up, and it's ever so fast. And we saw overnight how affected and impacted most of the companies were. And the key learning here is the word of adaptation. You know, how quickly can companies adapt to a constant change? And as Olaf mentioned at Konica Minolta, we've been focusing on this area for a while, and the impact was huge in terms of remote work, which I'm sure we'll touch on later on as well.
Thank you, Milan. So also on your side, Andrea, what do you see happens over there, and what do you?
Well, I think that strong teams got even stronger in these times. And no matter that the team was the family or colleagues from work, because everybody had the opportunity, let's say, to understand each other's family and situation, and nobody cared anymore that a dog was barking or a kid was laughing or the pasta was boiling. Meanwhile, I'll never forget actually by doing the dinner for everybody and the lunch at home, and meanwhile staying with the earphones on in meetings, right? So we could do it, and it didn't seem at all that awkward. Actually, it was very normal, and this is why I think that that gave us an opportunity to become more innovative, more organized, of course, imposing some auto-discipline and overall to become a little bit better each other.
I think I agree there, because I think what you see actually in the past is that if people introduce like work 2.0, work more from home, a lot of people were not feeling very comfortable with that, right? Am I being checked or something? And now we were all forced into this. And we saw that a lot of organizations were so flexible, and with that, immediately you had to trust with working from home, and that it was all fine. And I think this made I think for a lot of people worked out very well to make them feel more comfortable to work wherever, right? So this is one of the impacts. So if we look into organizational changes, right? And by COVID, a lot of things changed. A lot of people had to work from home. We saw, for example, in our IT business, there were a lot of requests on actually helping companies on their IT environment. What do you think that companies or organizations actually have to change because of this?
Yeah, well, I think most of this, if I may start for this, so most of this has been to do generally with culture in companies. Yeah, so I think, I think Andrea made the point about you work from home and you still have to then take care for your daily life. So in the end, you need to make sure that your company culture is facilitating this, and that you have mutual trust from if it's peers or management, even up to the top management, so that the productivity inside the company will not be questioned by someone who's not working on his desk inside a home. So that's why I think there has been many talks in the past month also about a so-called hybrid workplace. Yeah, so the work is there where you get things done and not where you physically are being represented. So that's why this hybrid workplace definitely will drive us further. And again, within that, we need that future of trust within the corporation to facilitate and even enhance those type of activities. So and of course, all of this goes alongside with the risk that the more you work from remote, the more you dial into wireless LANs or even untrusted wireless LANs, or wherever you find an internet hotspot. Of course, security becomes a concern for companies. and also dealing with all of this at the same time. So giving a cultural environment, having technology in place that facilitate the remote work, but also make sure that corporate security standards and compliance rules will be kept. I think that is something that will definitely change organization desires now in the post-COVID time when you plan for your future.
Thanks, Andrea. What are your thoughts?
I think that technology indeed was the main facilitator for everything that was going on, and it still is. I think that for years we have been taught that technology should be working for humans. And of course it did, right? In engineering, in medicine, in the physical, in optics, and so on. But I guess that now it's the real first time, going apart from buzzwords or KPIs or something like that, in which technology was really for humans. And everybody started to use it overnight, indeed, for meetings and for signing the documents, for signing the contracts. And suddenly, that mandatory face-to-face negotiations was not that mandatory anymore. They could be kept online with no problems. Suddenly, the contracts could be signed online with DocuSign or any other kind of solution that we are using. And the technology became the real friend and not an ally, not an enemy anymore. So I guess that indeed we have to think, and all the companies that we are working with are thinking more and more to increase all the tools possible for collaboration, for making the work in a sharing mode as much as possible, thinking very seriously to security, to increase the connectivity, and to making the data and the information available to everybody from wherever that person is working. So having a centralized, let's say, data hub, for example, and from there all the data to be available to everybody who is needed it.
Thank you. Yeah, I think this is definitely true. If you see in technology, there's more adaptation, and we see that it works better for everyone because they gain trust on that technology. I'm also curious on the behavioral part, right? Milan, can you say something about that?
Yes, certainly. I think that the behavioral part, it's an interesting question when we look at the dynamics of human behavior and this sudden impact on all of us in terms of the change. If I just reflect, for example, for a couple of minutes, I'm in a European role, so pretty much on the road on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis for the last 6 years since I've been with the Konica Minolta family. And when we start thinking, all of a sudden everything came to a stop. So what is the real impact on behavior, emotions, and really thinking how can we and should we be human first? And what we've seen is a collaboration and technology and tools is on the one hand super important. On the other side is really this human-centric way of working. And what I've observed certainly is this rise in what I might call as being a low-touch or a no-touch digital solution economy. And it's critical that companies that really want to compete and succeed in this disruptive marketplace, they have to and they must innovate. But at the same time, referring to a couple of points already made, it's making sure that we do so from a management point of view, but equally from a team, information, and process level as well. So this has an impact on the environment, and certainly COVID-19 has a lot of new opportunities because the crisis has also showed that the virtual communication and collaboration with the right tools is possible and highly effective. Even whilst you're making your pasta, you can still get the job done. And so, this has an impact of saying, yes, we can work from wherever. At the same time, we can get our work and job done. There's a positive impact on the environment when we think the reduction of business travel and subsequently on CO2 emissions through less driving, less flights, and just general commuting as well. So these are, please.
If I may add, Milan, also just, and I like to bridge what Andrea has been also saying about that teams have been growing stronger together.
Yeah.
This is clearly something you can also see on the day-to-day activities, because in the end, the technology even helped people to exchange more frequent and more better. And in some cases, we could see that even much better than in a face-to-face situation, that alignment has been done among the different teams. So that's why, again, something that was suspected to be difficult to be handled through technology turned out to be a cure even for office productivity and the alignment within. So
yeah, absolutely, totally agree. And in fact, to your point, that this change and shift has an impact on office buildings. So when we think about the question, do we really need large office buildings in the future, or can organizations reduce cost by reducing their office space, but by really having this hybrid approach that you referred to earlier on? So of course we'll learn as we get deeper into the next few months in this new form of normality, and we'll see how this pans out. But it's really, when we think about the maturity of organizations, so it's important that companies start really thinking about how do they measure their confidence and their level of digital maturity.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is what we see more and more. We see now the first people or first organizations starting up again, opening up their doors. People are going back to work. Some are more secure than others. Depending on the country where you live in, the rules are different. But I think it's good to also hear from you guys to say if you would have some tips, if we would have like to make a top 5 of things we want to bring to like organizational leaders to say this is what you have to make sure before you start your business again, or where you have to take care of starting this business and making sure you're ready for the future. What are your thoughts about that? Let's start with Andrea on this one.
First of all, I would say that it's nothing about rocket science. Actually, it's very simple to start the digitization journey if you didn't start it already. You can start very small with just some, for example, document archiving solution, right? In order to make the documents and the information inside the documents available to everybody who's needed it. Or to implement some electronic signatures, or to do some scan and capture projects in order also to put the data into some data centers. And it doesn't have to be the tier 3 data center or some, I don't know what kind of highly performant server. You can do it with a partner which has a data center, or you can do it with an all-in-one solution that you have inside your company, for example. So I would tell them to start small and to not be afraid that it's not going to be a very long journey and a very expensive one. No, you just have to find exactly those areas that is specifically for your business and will give you the most impact of all.
Yeah, I agree. This is what a lot of people noticed when this situation started, right? That all of a sudden you work from a desk from home, but if you had a lot of things that were on paper, that paper is probably in your office, right? And this is something which I think you're referring to, is that with simple steps you can bring that paper make this paper digital and available everywhere, right?
Yes, and I also can add that, for example, in the eastern part of Europe, when there are a lot of EU-funded projects right now, in the last 6 months, I would say that 90% of the requests that we had was about creating electronic archives and implementing digital signatures. And fortunately, we have the solutions for that.
Very good, very good. Let's dive into that a little bit later on, right? So Milan, if you have to give your thoughts there.
Yeah, certainly. We hear this word agile being used a lot, but what is really the meaning of agility? And my view, it's really touching also on the establishment of agile teams that impacts the culture of an organization. There's an interesting survey that was conducted by Gartner back in, I believe it was back in March, which interviewed over 300 CFOs, chief financial officers, and finance leaders. And the result revealed that around 74% of those intended to shift some employees to remote work permanently. So when we think about really what is the real impact of that, it's huge. And when we think about, for example, the ability of experts that sit within an organization, and when we think about Europe, for Konica Minolta, with almost 9,000 employees, that's a lot of talent that we have and companies have in their organizations. So it's important to establish agile teams and bringing together experts across different functions that are able to identify new opportunities and, most importantly, really act on them quickly. And so what we see is by increasing exposure to different viewpoints, a lot of new ideas can be found. And it's important then to have the ability to turn these ideas into solutions that help stabilize business operations.
Thanks. So Olaf.
Yeah, well, one of the major things which is sometimes happening also within big IT projects is that the planning part may take too long and is a too long forecasted project even. And I think Andrea made a good point about start small. So of course you can have your long-term goal in mind, but you should really start first of all to look into a way where you reduce the IT complexity and build your own digital workplace. Yeah, and digital workplace, as Andrea mentioned, can be simple things. You can just change from a manual or for a physical signature process into a digital process. You can work on collaboration tools, so you don't necessarily need your 5-month projects where you invoke so many stakeholders for the discussion, but start with small things and in the first place reduce the complexity of your existing IT infrastructure, because IT is actually there to help and not to be maintained, yeah, by the business. So that's why taking advantage of these days new technologies is, I think, one of the most biggest keys again to start a digital workplace.
Yeah, certainly. And if I may add to this as well, for those companies that are a little bit more mature in terms of the maturity, there are new technologies, like, for example, augmented reality, that really redefine what digital means. And it's becoming ever more important than before. And so one of the examples is firstly our Generate platform from Konica Minolta that enables customers to bring their print to life. And that helps accelerate the rise of what I call as being digital information consumption. So customers are very easily able to create new experiences, whether it's customer experiences, employee experiences, by overlaying over their physical assets in really a matter of minutes. And so the maturity of digitization and solutions really can help advance your transformation. I think another example, if I may as well, very briefly touch on, is developing what we might refer to as being assisted and connected reality solutions on top of the augmented reality solutions. That could help visual remote support for customers. And we have a solution that's maturing at the moment that companies are welcome to use should they wish to use a solution that helps customers by solving their problems remotely. And the technology behind this works very, very simply. It's the camera on your smartphone or a tablet, and it has the ability to live stream videos showing the end user scene. And on the other side, you have an engineer. The engineer is able to take a snapshot, provide visual navigation or a pointer, and that's really helping your digital twin assistant by you, but although virtually, through and navigating through a process. And for Konica Minolta, for ourselves in the last 4 to 5 months, we have saved over 1,000 customer visits by being able to fix issues remotely using our AeroLink solution.
Thanks, Milan. So yeah, if I listen to you guys, I hear actually a couple of things, right? I said, Andrea, I heard, so okay, don't wait, make those simple steps already on integrating stuff that can be easily done, digital signatures or just digital archiving. I heard Olaf saying, okay, don't forget about your future plans, but start already where you can start and adapt technologies to make sure you can more easily do this. Where Milan said, I think agility is also a very, very important topic, right? Be agile and take the right steps there. As we discussed earlier, I think also a new culture raised, right? So there are less hierarchies where you are pushed and you're more listened to what you can do as an employee and where you're skilled for. And if we then dive into what you already did a little bit, Milan, into the technology, I think it's very interesting to see what can be done by organizations when we talk about automation, right? So we as Konica Minolta, we deliver tons of automation tools. We all do this under this intelligent connected workplace umbrella. But I would be interested to hear from you guys if you talk about that automation towards this new organization. Well, what are your thoughts about that, and what can you tell about that? So Olaf, to start with you.
Yeah, well, automation is again, it's not just something that sits with technology, but it also has other ways and means to think about processes and so forth. So that's why, again, here sometimes difficulties or mistakes being made in projects, that you just think about the rollout of a new tool set, but you don't consider to take the stakeholder on board, ask them about how they do work. And in the end, a project, an IT-driven project, can fail just because the stakeholder have not been onboarded properly. So a thing to be done every day also for changing your automation skills, even in a small scale for yourself, is, and we have been doing this for an internal exercise. We distributed an hourglass, and we said, and the hourglass, by the way, was a 10 minutes time span. And we always said, in the morning, turn the hourglass and think about yourself for today's activity, what you like to change in terms of making your business a bit more effective, or change pattern for yourself. So always start with these little exercises in the morning, can possibly also help again for the agility part. Yeah. So thinking about little changes. And again, the changes don't have to be necessarily residing in technology. It can be also on the way people work and how people work with each other. And then technology possibly can help here as well.
So Andrea, what's your thought there? So you talked already a bit about automation and how this can be adapted by the customers, right? So Olaf just said it's not just the technology, it's also the mindset. What can you say about that, talking to your customers, to be more precise?
Mm-hmm. Well, automation should actually make the information available to whom it needs it, and when and where it is needed. Possibly with freeing up some routine time of simple data entry or manual reporting, stuff like that. Of course, automation can mean from simple workflows that can be implemented electronically, up to moving the information from the paper to a cloud environment, for example, or to an electronically environment. But it also can go up to RPA, for example. Why not, right? So automation actually covers anything that can be done in an easier way, cost effective, and with the possibility of giving the people the choice to do something more intelligent than simple moving of the data from one part to another one.
Yeah, thank you. And talking about that, because we can do a lot for organizations when it comes to those kind of technology. So what are typically things that we can help our customers with, take them by the hand and guide them through these kind of steps? Milan.
Yeah, just to kind of add to what Andreas mentioned, when we think about digital maturity, what is maturity and what kind of levels can our customers achieve for this maturity? The way we at Konica Minolta position this is through our intelligent connected workplace, and it's really dedicated towards this hybrid workplace approach. And it has 4 levels of maturity. If we start at level 0, and so level 0 is really locked into paper documents in the workplace. And 3 elements of this is connecting your IT. That helps you take yourselves to a maturity level 1. So think about your workflow solutions. Think about your business processes that could be automated, and then the impact of that in relation to connecting your IT and infrastructure. The second level of this, in terms of maturity, looks at the business processes that can be connected, and so we become free from paper documents. So that's connecting the work environment, and that really helps customers to be free from location. So we've seen in the last few months, it's about the work to be done regardless of location. And so that takes us into maturity level 2. And the third level of maturity for us, or the final top level, is connecting people. And without people, we would have no work. So we start thinking about knowledge and how can we help customers to dig deeper into the knowledge and of their people, of their customers, and subsequently use this data-driven approach so that collaboration solutions become easier, knowledge management becomes much more simplified, and above all, the intelligence part is really helping us as consumers and customers to make decisions much more faster. So it's enabling decision support systems by providing this intelligence behind the digital workplace.
Yeah, can I just add here also just a little sentence, because sometimes also Konica Minolta is being asked, so what is your desire inside the IT landscape? And I always have a very simple answer for that. Ever since we have been touching documents, and maybe in the beginning it was paper-based documents, we followed a 3 layers consultation process. So we consulted the customer for and made an analytical part inside the office environment. We then did an implementation project, so to properly implement, and as to my point for the education part, we also, there is a very essential piece to bring everybody onboarded and take on to the journey. But most important is also that someone is managing all of that, what has been implemented. So, and we're also doing the management part. And within these 3 elements of activities, we gained over the past years so much know-how about process and workflows inside customers that there is a strong consultancy part already residing just by replicating or duplicating things that we have been doing for other businesses that are doing something very similar to a new client. So that's why this experience, which is being embedded in us, can also be reverted again next to technology, which is a very important point, to my opinion.
Can you say something about how that practically works? Because I think these 3 layers is something that's so embedded in our system as Konica Minolta. But how does that work in practice when a customer comes to you, Andrea, and say, okay, but how are you going to help me then?
Well, from the start, we are doing a lot of consultancy. So we are listening, and then we are proposing some solutions. Of course, based on what we see at the customer, and also on what we know from other customers or from our history, let's say so. And I believe that we are in a very, very good position. Exactly what Olaf was speaking earlier. We have such a long history and such an inside information about every customer and every processes that they are doing, that sometimes we are able to go and propose something proactively, right? And not necessarily by the request, a special request coming from the customer. We can go and say, hey, we saw that you're doing this and that. You can do it better, let us tell you how. And of course, another thing which is very important is for the customer to understand that we are not just good sellers, we are also very good and strong implementators, and we can do the project from start to end and beyond the end. So maintaining the system going and letting the customer know that there is something at the end of the line, somebody at the end of the line who can solve the problems no matter what. So the maintenance and the management part, of course, it is very, very important. And in this respect, I believe that we are in a very good position because we know how to deal. I don't know, maybe we are the only provider that knows how to deal with paper-based information and virtual-based information in the same way. And we saw some customers during our journey that actually started from paper and moved to virtual with us, right? So here are the paper, and now the customer has everything that had on paper now in electronic forms with the help of our team. And when I'm saying the team, it's really the team. It's not necessarily only, I don't know, the IT services team. It's also the technicians team from the service departments, from marketing, from sales, of course. So it's really an enlarged team.
Yeah. And Marcel, for the part you also mentioned earlier about technology. So I think a very good example of this is our we have a so-called all-in-one IT infrastructure called Workplace Hub. That is exactly describing everything we have been just talking about. So it's a physical device which sits inside the customer premise that will act as a kind of central infrastructure for network, but it can also be your hotspot for Wi-Fi or 4G 4G relay unit. But in order to remove that complexity and focus on the simplicity here, we are managing all of this from a remote place. So that's why the physical representation sits in the customer premise, but Konica Minolta remotely is taking care for anything that will be done here. And within that, we have a so-called edge approach. So that's why the cloud is also an essential part within that. So that's why you are also future proven for what you do. And again, summing up, we do an infrastructure assessment in the very beginning. We will then come with such kind of technology. But ever since then, later on, we will manage that technology to make the customer don't care about to maintain it, but as I said, just to use it.
Thank you for making that bridge, Olaf, because I think that's very important that next to the things that we discussed earlier in this conversation, there are also actual solutions and products attached to this, of course. And Workplace Hub, for example, is one of those, which is, I think, a crucial element of our intelligent connected workplace. And maybe, and this is maybe one for Andrea, because I know you do a lot around the Microsoft environment as well. What kind of tooling is being offered there, and what kind of things do you see gain traction at this point?
Well, currently, of course, everything that's around collaboration is a performer, right? So we encountered a lot of projects right now for Microsoft Teams, for Office 365. Of course, the cloud was one of the best solutions right now for customers that did not have servers or a huge infrastructure at their fingertips. So they decided very quickly to move into the cloud, and not just move with some email and calendar and Teams, so the social collaboration tools, but also with some document management solutions inside Office 365, or some scan and capture solutions which are making the bridge between the physical world of the paper-based document and the document in its virtual life, sitting, for example, in Microsoft Office 365. Another area, a part of Microsoft, was around video surveillance solutions, right? So the cameras that were used for identifying persons with elevated body temperature, but also going further, related also to the automation subject before, about proactive maintenance for machines, for making less interactions between persons and the machines. Right. So in this world in which everybody's working remotely, also the persons from the manufacturers had to limit the interaction between people and to keep the social distancing and so on. And this is where the video surveillance solutions got a very good fit these days.
Okay, thank you. So we have to come slowly to an end of this conversation. So I'm pretty sure we can talk for hours about this with you guys, and I'm pretty sure this won't be our last panel. But if you have to give like this one big thing you want to as a takeaway from this panel today, because we heard wonderful things about what we can do with solutions and how we can help our customers. We heard about environment and about culture. But if you have to give like one big thing as a takeaway for our audience today, this I think is a good way to end for today. So let's start with Olaf here.
Yeah, well, I think the most important point will be really start your journey today. Yeah, even the journey is a journey. It always starts with the famous first step. So don't postpone any activities, because the market, the environment is changing every day, and nobody can even predict what will be in 3 years from now. So that's why if you would like to stay on the tip of your toes in terms of business agility, start the change of your activities probably already from tomorrow, and don't wait for any other moment. That would be my biggest part. And maybe just adding also to everything we have been saying, try to remove the stupid work out of the daily routines, and let technology help here to make it simplified. So and spend energy on something else with your employees' force.
Thanks. Milan.
So yes, certainly I'd like to use 3 words and a quotation, if I may, Marcel. So when I think about this intelligence and a takeaway, so innovative. You shouldn't just rely on an innovation team to be innovative. We are all creative. We are all innovative. So innovative. Think about a sustainability in terms of your business operations, and certainly from Konica Minolta's point of view, we have many years of experience and expertise in this area as well. So innovative, sustainable, and collaboration. So be collaborative are the 3 key words. And I'd like to also close off with a quote from Stephen Hawking, who says, intelligence is the ability to adapt to change. And so, we are really here to help in terms of the adaptation of that change.
Thank you very much. Andrea.
I would say, what is the one change you will do today in order to be sure that tomorrow your business will go on?
Very clear, very clear. So thank you all for your participation today. I think it was wonderful to discuss these topics with you, and I think it was very valuable to hear the input you brought to the table. As I said, I'm pretty sure this is not our last panel, and we will have more of those for our audience, and we can go deeper into those topics. For today, I think there were a lot of learnings about how you as human can be very flexible and innovative, and make sure that you can adapt to current situations, where there is also technology that can help you already in a very easy way to, even if you are already at a certain level, in more complex ways. And I think the big learning is don't wait for all of this, right? Because it's on your fingertips. Start today, and if you need any help, please make sure that you reach out to the right people there. So thank you very much for today, guys, and thank you all for listening to us. More to follow, and talk to you all next time. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.